It's been a long, hard season. I'm feeling weary to my bones. I guess that's my reason. I packed my bags and now I'm gone. Somewhere between the sun and the deep blue sea. That's where you find me. Tender red, flat out on a beach bed. That's where you find me. Working on my fishing skills in a little boat that I rent. Ain't got nothing but time to kill. No vacation's been more heaven sent. Between the sun and the deep blue sea. That's where you find me. Tender red, flat out on a beach bed. Somewhere between the sun and the deep blue sea. My feet in the sand, green umbrella drink in my hand. That's where you find between the sun and the deep blue sea. That's where you find tender red, flat out on a beach bed. Between the sun and the deep blue sea. That's where you find my feet in the sand, green umbrella drink in my hand. If you must, oh, if you need me, between the sun and the deep blue sea.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse my damp, scraggly hair. I am fresh out of the shower. We had a lovely beach walk, as you would have seen, and I needed to warm up. So I had a lovely, relaxing afternoon shower. And I'm currently hiding in the bedroom, just as a chance to kind of come and say hello to you, really. But I spent the morning working on my, what is this called? Campsite cardie. I wanted to call it the Comfort Fade cardie, but that's a completely different pattern. So yeah, I spent the morning working on my campsite cardie, which is coming along. As you'll know if you watch the podcast, I finished one sleeve and then I've decided to carry on working on the body. I'm about an inch away from the end of the body. And then I'm going to do 2 inches of rib. In the pattern it does 1.5 inches of rib, but I decided I wanted to go a little bit longer on the rib. And in fact, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do the inch more on the body, put a lifeline in, then do the rib, and then I might make a decision at that point. That means, so I've kind of got a choice lengthwise as to whether it, basically, if it's still too short, then I can rip the rib out and I won't have to worry about this because I'll have the lifeline in at the end of the pattern section. That's my plan anyway. So hopefully, if I really actually crack on with this, I might get the body finished during our little kind of week off work, hopefully. But it's coming along. If you're new and you don't know the pattern is the Campside Cardi by Alicia Plummer. And it's just a really nice, simple DK weight cardigan. Raglan sleeves at the top. The sleeves are just plain sleeves, but it has this lovely kind of eyelet pattern that comes down the back. It starts with wider eyelets and then they get closer together. They should get even closer together than this. See if I can show you on the pattern. But I changed it because I didn't quite like the way it turns into almost mesh at the bottom. Yeah, here we go. This is the picture from the pattern. So you can see that in the original pattern, it turns into almost like a mesh right at the bottom. But I didn't want that mesh section. So I'm just extending. I'm just doing more repeats of kind of the final section before that, if it makes sense. But yeah, it's coming along ever so slowly. I am such a rubbish garment knitter. It takes me so long to get through a garment, and I want all the knitted garments. But I think at long-term projects like this, I get a bit bored and I just want more short-term reward, basically. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. I'm hoping to get a little bit more done on it this afternoon because we haven't got much else on now we've been for our walk. We're going to have a quiet evening, chill out, relax. I stayed up far too late last night reading my book. I'm reading, this isn't the book of the day, by the way. Tom is doing book of the day. But I'm reading, as I said, the second book in the series of the Broken Earth trilogy, Obelisk Gate. So I'm getting through it. I'm over halfway through now. And yeah, I got to a really good bit. So I stayed up far too late last night reading that. And I am suffering for it today because I am tired. Anyway, I'm rambling and rambling and rambling. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. And being very British, this is always a thing that I stumble over talking about. But I have set up a Ko-fi account or a Ko-fi account. I think it's pronounced Ko-fi account. Because I know that there are a couple of you who have commented or contacted me in the past to say that you want to be able to kind of support my business and support the podcast, but you're also not wanting to increase your yarn stash. Now, obviously, the best way to support my business and support kind of me, if you are inclined to, is to buy yarn, because I sell yarn, and that is that's the most obvious way to do it. But I appreciate that sometimes yarn can be expensive, and also sometimes people don't want to increase their stash and all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So if you did want to support the podcast a little bit, without having to purchase yarn, but still in a monetary way, I have set up a Ko-fi account. And it's just, you'll find it in the description box down below, and there's absolutely no obligation at all. I really don't expect people to be doing it. It's just there as an option. Any money that I do make through the Ko-fi account will be channeled back into kind of both the podcast, and potentially if I get a few people that donate, then it will get squirreled away towards potentially building or improving on a dye studio for Giddy yarns in the future, basically. But it will go towards, in the short term, it will go towards kind of postage costs for giveaways, so that I can continue to do international giveaways as well, because postage costs can be really expensive for that. And it will go towards kind of the costs of software, and I have a subscription to Epidemic Sounds, which is why I can get decent music with my podcast as well. So it goes towards that kind of thing. So it would be entirely appreciated. If you're not financially in a position to support the podcast financially, which I completely understand, and I really don't expect at all, but you still want to support in any way, the easiest and simplest and free way you can do that is, of course, to let the ads run. Because I do have ads at the beginning and at the end of my videos. And if you let them run, then it gives me just like a little bit of extra. Not that it's much, it's pennies, but it gives me a little bit extra. So that is another way that you can support the podcast. Anyway, now that I have rambled on about that, because it's a really uncomfortable topic, I'm gonna go downstairs and make myself a cup of tea. And I think most of today's vlog will just be the footage of the beach and our beach walk, but Tom is going to do book of the day a little bit later on, although I don't know what he's going to do, so that'll be exciting for you to find out.
Hello and welcome to today's book of the day. So today I've chosen this China Mieville's Perdido Street Station, which for those of you who don't know it is the first in Mieville's Bas Lag trilogy, which is a trilogy of 3 kind of fantasy novels. I seem to be going into a rut picking another fantasy novel. So this is the first in the series, and it's actually the first book by Mieville that I read as well, and it's really interesting. So it's set in a kind of fantasy type world with different races and stuff, but it's really interesting because he sets it in an urban setting. So it's kind of, I think it's loosely based on London, but it's a very rich and engrossing urban setting. And like any good book, you can tell a book is good by looking at the front and seeing whether or not it has a map. And if a book has a map at the front, then you know you're in for a good time. So yeah, this is a really interesting book. So it's quite slow. Like the first kind of third of the book is quite slow, but it's very rich and very engrossing, and very kind of guttural, and very kind of evocative of the kind of grime and kind of rough life of a city. But it's obviously set in a fantasy type realm as well. So it's really interesting, and he creates some of his own new races and stuff. There's like insect creatures and stuff. And yeah, so like the first kind of third of it is quite slow but really engrossing, but it's worth sticking with it because when it kicks off, my goodness, does it kick off. So it's an incredible book, and I've read the second in the series, but I've not yet, which is known as The Scar, which is also brilliant, but I've not yet read the third one, although it is on the shelf downstairs. So yeah, that's Perdido Street Station. Really, I really couldn't recommend it enough. If you like kind of dark and gritty fantasy type weird stuff, but with a twist, and that's really engrossingly written, and really quite clever as well. So that's my book of the day for today.